Welcome to the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. This is Jason Klamm. A quick thank you and hello to our new listeners. Anybody who reads our blog that goes along with the podcast will have seen that our listeners have doubled within just the last week, so it's very exciting to have a bunch of new nerds on board. Whether you're comedy nerds, vinyl nerds, or both, I'm hoping this podcast serves your interest. And also, if you're not interested in those things, I'm hoping it gets you interested in them. This episode will get you interested in both, but primarily, if you're not into vinyl, and a lot of people think it's annoying and hipstery, I think comedy's really kind of the opposite of that as far as comedy vinyl goes, but this will kind of maybe set you straight. This is Taylor Jessen. Taylor is Firesign Theater's official archivist, and he's just a brilliantly funny guy on his own. He wanted to talk about the Credibility Gap's Floats album. You might not have heard it, but guaranteed you know all the people in the Credibility Gap, or at least most of them. Michael McKean and Harry Shearer, just to name two. And it's a great album. Anybody who's used to listening to the show knows that about every 10 minutes I try to throw in a clip of about a minute long from the album, just so you can get a taste of it. But we talk so much about archiving and Firesign that I don't really throw any clips until later in the episode when we finally get down to brass tacks and talk about this album. In general, it's just a lot of fun talking to him about comedy and his interest in archiving, and not just archiving but restoring. One really interesting thing about Floats, and one of the reasons we picked it to talk about, it's an album that he's restored. And by the way, all on his own, of his own accord, and usually out of pocket. He restores a lot of albums, not just the sound but the artwork. And you'll hear from the clips I have, it's really pristine. Since the albums are out of print that he restores, he's able to put them up on his blog, which is taylorjessen.blogspot.com. There are links to everything up on the blog as well. You can see his archive, the things that he's put up there, so that you can listen to and look at the art from. One that he's done that is a particular favorite of mine is How to Speak Hip. It is impossible to get a hold of. There are a lot of just vinyl nerds who want that album. It's very hard to get a hold of in good shape, and he's made pretty much the best copy of it you can find. So enough rambling from me, but this is a lot of fun to do, and obviously thank you to Taylor, thank you to all our new listeners, and thank you to our continued listeners. Obviously spread the word, and thanks again.
Oh, it's the Rose Parade, wouldn't you know it, the Rose Parade. And we'll radio it. The streets are cleared. The flowers are fun.
And the float from Baskin-Robbins is beginning to run.
Oh, it's the Rose Parade. The crowd is excited. The Rose Parade. And you weren't invited, so sit in your chair. Just listen and stare. There's nothing else to do, so here's the Rose Parade.
Good morning. If you're watching television, you can see that the parade indeed has been rained out. So from here, we'll say
we're running footage of last year's parade. Hopefully we have the whole thing.
Actually, the parade hasn't been rained out.
No.
It was going to be a very, very serious problem if it had been, because the rest of the year in Pasadena is all filled up, so they would have had a double-header parade next year.
And they would have had to pay us anyway.
And nobody likes that.
A twilight double-header parade.
All right, give me a little test, if you would.
Vocative. Tonight's the night I shall be talking about a flu, the subject of word association football. This is a technique out of living much used, and the practice makes perfect. A psychoanalysis sister and brother, and one that has occupied Piper my majority. Rule by attention squad by the right number 1, 2, 3, 4 the last 5 years to the memory. It is quite remarkable, Baker, Charlie, how much the Miller's son, this so-called while you were out word association immigrants problem influences the manna from heaven in which we sleek at cower and timber species all Americans speak. The famous explorer. And the really, well, that is surprising, partners in crime. When I get really bored, I do this in an Alan Bennett voice.
Mm-hmm.
And the really, well, that is surprising, partner in crime, is that a lot and his wife at the lion's feeding time, we may be effectively quite unaware of the fact or fiction section of the Watford Public Library that we are even doing it. It's a far, far better thing. And yeah, it makes for some really interesting road trips.
I bet. Oh my God.
I'm kind of diseased that way. I don't know whether it was. Are we taping it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, growing up, I didn't listen to a lot of comedy with friends, but I had some friends turn me on to some stuff, and then I could share Python stuff with them.
Yeah.
I think I got introduced to Python for the first time by my sister because a friend of hers brought over the Instant Record collection.
Oh, of course.
Lumberjack song, and that was it. And then I would sneak that on. I taped that onto a microcassette tape and snuck it into Mr. Silva's 8th grade algebra class and just listened to it. And listened to it a lot, really. Yeah.
That one's... I am a big fan of creative record art, so that is one that I really do love just for the folding out. Like, it's a great album anyway.
It is. I didn't even discover the full folding out version until years later.
Really?
I just got the cheapo American reprint.
Yeah. I want the matching tie and handkerchief that actually supposedly had a real matching tie and handkerchief, because that would be mind-blowing.
That would be...
Sure, it's worth God knows how much money.
That would kill me.
Yeah.
I've got one with like a cardboard, the die cut
Yeah,
front,
I think that's the one I have, yeah.
but I've never found one that came with the thing itself.
Because I remember Dave Higgins specifically said he remembered hearing that or seeing that. I'm like, oh, shit. I don't know what I would do. I don't know if that actually happened.
I'd freak out.
Yeah. Everybody, I should probably announce who I actually have on the show right now. I have Taylor Jessen with me. First of all, thank you for being here.
I'm delighted.
Second of all, how do we introduce you? What do we call you? You do a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh God, I've never thought of it. My card at the there's a guy, Dave Malky, who does Wondermark cartoon, and I tweeted him once about something really esoteric, and he responded, "Oh, you're an obsessive. Put that on my business card." I did right away, so it's like writer, archivist, obsessive. That's accurate.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. You are the fire sign archivist. We can say that, which is prestigious in and of itself. You are probably the man who knows everything that exists.
I that would be nice. No, it is. It is.
Or at least you know what to look for.
Yeah. That's the. That's being on the inside, is knowing what question to ask rather than knowing the answer.
Yes, right.
So I know what we're missing. And I know some of the interesting stuff that we've got. Interestingly enough, their storage unit is full of stuff that still hasn't been transferred that could turn out to be really interesting. Just because, like I told you at our lunch, we Procter & Bergman went on the road in the 70s when Firesign was kind of in a breakup mode where things weren't going really well. And Procter & Bergman were always the half of the group that loved being in front of people and getting that reaction. Whereas Austin and Osman were more, I don't know, introverted. They still love getting in front of people, and they're terrific writers, of course. But Procter & Bergman wanted to get out in front of in a stand-up situation. So they went on the road for years, like between 73 and 78. At the end of that period, they wrote Americathon and kind of got off the road, but they went everywhere, and everybody would be really nice to them and make a recording of the show and send it to them, and Bergman would never listen to it. So there are all these open reels sitting in their storage unit waiting to be transferred. And there's something I saw on YouTube years ago, which I haven't seen since, which is some black and white TV footage of them in a studio riffing. And it was crazy. It's crazy good in all the crazy good ways that you think it could be when you're listening to some of their old radio shows. Just listening to them riff. They were like that all the time. That was not a put on. Like listening to one of their radio shows is like listening to one of their writing sessions. They would just bounce, and they'd create instantly memorable characters instantly.
Oh, they would have been perfect for podcasting.
So,
quite
yes,
frankly. I mean,
yes.
That's people's bread and butter. You just blew my mind because I didn't know that Americathon was them.
Oh yeah,
I did not know that, and so now, like, yeah, that's even stranger to me.
Another thing that we need to
somewhere.
Another thing that we just need to add to our general to watch list. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen it since it came out.
Yeah.
But I've got it. I got it on DVD.
Yeah, I have
Warner
a copy
Archive
somewhere.
Yeah, it's just everybody in the 70s trying to get their thing going, and these guys landed a movie. They weren't happy with it. They sort of wrote the idea for it, but didn't write the screenplay.
Okay, yeah.
Another, semi-disappointing product of comedy groups trying to get something together in the 70s.
I always wonder, like, when these guys were putting together, I mean, when they were putting together the albums, I mean, you were saying yesterday that they put together a movie to sell an album, so I do sort of forget how important the albums were as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. I mean, just bins full of records, and that's the thing that you're trying to sell. There aren't any videotapes. There aren't any.
Right.
There's no digital media yet, so everything that you're going to get is either going to be an 8-track or maybe a cassette, but probably vinyl.
Yeah.
So everybody is pouring all their energy into that. And when Firesign comes to Columbia Pictures and they say, we want to do a film based on Everything You Know Is Wrong, there's 3 pages of paperwork and I've got it. And nowhere in this paperwork does it mention we're going to take ownership of this film. From Columbia's point of view, they didn't care.
That's crazy.
So they just gave them this film, and we've still got it. So we can put it on TV, which we are shortly going to do.
Really? That's awesome. That is so good. It's one of those... It's such a fluid thing, though, being an archivist, especially given how long Firesign's been around. It's so fluid. You can't ever say, well, here's my goal. Here's a thing I'm going to be done with someday. That you can't look at it that way, right?
No, you cannot.
That's also got to drive you crazy.
Yes, yes, it does. There's no end to this. I mean, you could almost look at this collection and say, okay, projects 1 through 10, they're huge, and I don't know how deep these things are, but one day I will come to the end of it.
Sure.
But God, who knows how long that's going to take? Like I said, there's hundreds of hours of stuff in there that I've never even heard.
Yeah.
And it's just me. It's just up to me and my Atari MX 5050. Running them down.
That's crazy. I mean, at some point, do you foresee and do the guys hope to have everything out there available, whether for purchase or in general out there?
Yes, ideally. In fact, one thing that we're really close to but don't quite have yet is an MP3 download store. If you go to firesigntheater.com right now, you will see we do have a store, and there are things you can get there that you can't get anywhere else, like Duke of Madness Motors, which is 80 hours of MP3s of their complete radio epic from 70 to 72,
so
which
good.
is crazy. And the latest one is Marching to Shibboleth, which is a complete reprint of the Straight Arrow books, of the books of plays that Rolling Stone put out in the 70s. We have put them back in print, and we have added the complete script for Everything You Know Is Wrong in print for the first time. Full of just completely, all the text has been completely reset in the original fonts. Just one of those intensely crazy, stupid things that you do when you decide that you want that object.
Yeah.
So we took a year and did it. But if you go to the store, you will be able to see a bunch of really good books, but no MP3 downloads yet. That would be ideal if we could get that store going, because MP3s are, let's face it, easier. You create a little image for the icon for for iTunes, and you tag it, and you're done, and you can sell it. Vinyl is much, much, much harder. So, we're looking forward to getting some stuff out. We would really love, I think the first thing I'm going to suggest that they put out are the Magic Mushroom shows. This is something that fans have been trading for years, but which has never been officially sold, just because the story is, this is something that the Firesign did. This is the way I look at it. In the 60s, they couldn't get a TV show, so instead they gave themselves a 12-episode radio series. They were writing full-time, and every Sunday they would go to Peter's show, Radio Free Oz, which was coming off of KRLA, because they were trying to be hip, and he'd have his own Sunday show, multiple hours. Like at some point it was regularly a 3-hour show. In the middle hour of the show, every week from October of 67 to January of 68, Firesign wrote and performed a new half-hour play. And this stuff is as good as their albums.
Really?
And it's been completely reprinted for the first time. We just put it together in a book called Exorcism in Your Daily Life. So you can read all these scripts, and sadly there's one script in there that we will never probably ever hear because it's gone, recording. But a lot of these recordings have survived in pretty decent bootleg copies from people. The originals are long gone, like some engineers took them way back in the day.
Of course.
But we've got pretty good bootlegs that we could put out on MP3. And it's so wonderful. They would go from doing a Sherlock Holmes parody one week to doing a play about Roman times the next. They would do an Escape a la Stalag Luft 17.
Oh my God.
They did a all of this was stage work.
Yeah.
It was stuff that they later did on stage and stuff they were already doing on stage. So they were really this was tight.
Do you think their eclecticness comes from... They seem like a restless bunch, I guess is what I'm thinking. They seem like the kind of... something that I've seen myself, at the very least, some way I see myself relating to a gentleman like Phil Proctor, is that he likes to do a lot of shit.
Yes.
A lot of different things. Sometimes maybe out of necessity. I understand he's a working actor. But it does... Am I wrong?
Oh no,
they just seem restless.
you've got it. You've nailed it. These guys are fucking all over the place. Austin, over the last 20 years, has had a really interesting career putting, writing and doing feature work that I don't see very much, but that is really getting out there. Just short comic pieces.
Yeah.
For magazines. Obviously, some of that work's going away now because magazines are going away now. Bergman was not just this comic guru and inventor of underground radio in LA. He was also an inventor. He sort of invented a very small camera for inspecting heart valves.
What?
I know.
What?
I know. What the fuck? I mean, he was a demonstrator and salesman basically for the Showtron editing package, which was a nice cheap flatboard film editing package in the 70s. A lot of people used. He was all over the place. He was coruscating from thing to thing. Yeah. Because in the other half of that is that these guys would get bored easily. Yeah. They want to get on to the next thing. Right. And Osman is brilliant. He's the producer guy. He will talk to you about old productions until the cows come home. Yeah. And he is actively producing and editing new scripts. He's a theater guy. He will do things for the theater for active productions that are happening right now. Yeah. And Proctor, as you say, is a polymath too. He's all over the place.
Do you have a perspective on the cost of a record at the time these guys were making albums? Like how much it cost them to put these out?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because I'm curious. I've never actually asked anybody.
I wish I did too. That's probably something we should ask Proctor the next time we talk to him. Yeah. They had a special deal, which is that they were treated like a soundtrack. Accordingly with the residuals and how much they would get paid. They got that deal because they wanted indefinite studio time. Wow. And when they got that, they got what they needed as a bunch of writers, which is the ability to go into a room, write something, and record it right there. Yeah. And they continued doing that right up until the end. Their last Rhino albums, I was there luckily for some of the recordings of that. They'd spend a day, and at the end of it, they would record their 3-minute skit. And they'd prep for the next day, and then they'd come back the next day and do that next bit. Holy shit. They spent a whole morning rewriting something, came in after lunch, recorded it. You know, if you were to look at this from the perspective of a producer of a band, it would seem totally irresponsible. Yes. But that's what these guys' modus operandi. Yeah. They got together, they riffed, they would improve each other's lines, they'd come up with some final thing, and then they'd record it and move on.
I don't know that a lot of sketch comedy acts could do that, though. Sometimes they seem to like they have to have that Titan script in front of them way ahead of time to be confident enough to work with each other and not go at their throat, one another's throats. Like that does seem. I know all comedy groups have rifts and have trouble working together sometimes, but that seems a much more polished way of working than a lot of groups.
They would come in with an outline,
yeah, sure,
but not always with a finished script. Or they would come in with a finished script and then they'd just tear it to bits.
Of course, yeah.
They rewrote the entire end of Giant Rat of Sumatra, the last 8 minutes of it in the studio. Wow. So they'd come in prepared, but they were a restless troupe. And you know, if you're the writer of something, it doesn't stay funny to you forever.
Sure.
And when it stops being funny, you're going to rewrite it.
It's yeah. Do you, and I know we discussed a bit of this yesterday, but the first time you heard, because I'll just, we'll make it about me for a minute.
Please do. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessen Klamm, the amazing Jessen Klamm. And thank you, Jason, for having me on.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me on. But like growing up, my big thing is I always wanted to make a comedy album of my own. My buddy Dan listened to Firesign. I didn't. I was like, I don't care. I'm listening to this other stuff. So I just like, and I obviously feel like a dick to this day for doing that because I was just a little cocky shit. But I remembered thinking, you know, after I made my first album, which was 15 years ago this year I was like, you know what? I really want to do I don't really like Pink Floyd that much, but I want to do a Pink Floyd style comedy album. I don't know if that's ever been done. And then I start listening to Firesign. I'm like, motherfuck.
Son of a
motherfuck. That's all it is. That is all it is. They're, for lack of a better term, the Pink Floyd of comedy. It's so strange to me.
It really is. I've never heard anybody say that, but that's exactly what it is. These are, well, a lot of people, I think the Library of Congress picked up when the Dwarf album got put into the Library of Congress's registry, like in 2003 or 2005. Their headline was Beatles of Comedy.
Yeah.
And that's really pretty accurate, because they'd go in the studio and stay there for a long time until they got it right, and they would make it sound really good.
Of course,
and
that's
really complicated.
That's the other thing. They still set a standard. There's a standard set by these guys. I really still think Cheech and Chong actually have wonderful production value.
Yes, they did.
These are just more complex and just as gorgeous sounding, and it's something that. Again, I don't want to sound old-timey and like an old fart, but it's not. People don't concentrate on that because they don't need to anymore. I mean, even Adam Sandler's sketch albums, as funny as some of them could sometimes be, were just way too simple in the sound effects department. There wasn't a lot of let's make an environment here. It was just like, let's hit somebody. Here's the same hit noise over and over again. For God's sake.
That's exactly it. I mean, Firesign was not just they weren't just coming from a rock perspective. Here's my big theory about the Firesign Theater. Firesign, if there were a documentary, this would be my thesis statement. Firesign Theater was dumped into a rock milieu, but they were playwrights.
Yeah.
And what happens to rock groups? They make albums, and the albums have songs on them. The songs live on because they're short enough to play on the radio, and they're short enough to learn. What happens if you're a comedy group and your one performance is locked on this record? That's the thing. How does this go on living? I mean, they come from a theater background. John Guare, they come from the avant-garde, they dig avant-garde plays. In fact, one of Proctor's first jobs in LA was playing alongside Phil Austin in John Guare's Musica. This was their bread and butter. So what happens to Fireside albums? Do they get played on stage? They should be played on stage. They're not really played on stage.
Right.
They're not played on the radio because they're too long. Sketch groups don't play them because it's too much to learn.
Yes.
They're not part of anyone's canon.
Yeah.
There's a canon of art out there, and the Firesign canon is in danger of disappearing because it doesn't fit anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can't recycle it. Art only lives as long as it's got the ability to make an emotional connection with somebody.
Sure.
And it's got to be recycled.
Right.
So it's hard to get people turned on to Firesign.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, like the new Monkees, we need a new Firesign. I'm kidding. That would be the worst thing in the world. Can you imagine? I can imagine, and it's frightening me. We
need a really pretty 22-year-old guy, and he's got to come in and play all of Bergman's parts, and the other guys too. Screw them.
Yeah, right. What was the first album you heard of theirs? And under what circumstances?
It was like 1993, and I was in my third year at University of Idaho in Moscow, which has an amazing freeform station, which is still freeform. And another guy was playing How Time Flies by Dave Osman on his show. And I was listening to it, and I was not laughing, and I was listening to it, and I was listening to it. And I couldn't stop listening to it.
Yeah.
And then the laughs start coming, and then it gets weird, and then it stays weird, and then you decide, this isn't weird, this actually makes sense. And that's how the rest of Firesign, it turns out, is exactly like. You're going to listen to it the first time, and there's enough weirdness and one-liners to keep your interest through the whole thing.
Sure.
But it is going to blow your mind once you figure out that there is more going on. And because I had my own radio show, I turned over a couple of semesters to playing nothing but comedy albums. And I'd play a different one every week. So and looking at it, they had a nice comedy selection in there, some Credibility Gap and some other stuff. And I was looking at how much real estate there was in terms of Firesign albums. It was a couple of inches, and thought, who could these guys be? So I played them all. I ran them all down one by one.
Yeah.
And then the first guy that I met was Proctor on the phone. because it was the 20th anniversary of Procter & Bergman having come to KUOI, and it was the 50th anniversary of KUOI itself. So just out of the blue, I called Procter up and said, "You want to talk to us about some stuff?" And Procter, being Procter, he said, "Sure." So I had a phone chat with him, and he's super nice, and we'll talk to anybody, and we'll shoot the shit forever because he's that kind of guy. And then eventually I moved down to LA, and he was the first guy that I met. And Procter, being Procter, he just wants to keep in touch with you and figure out who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I just glommed onto Firesign over like 10 or 15 years and got more and more involved in what they were doing and became their unofficial archivist, and then sort of became their official archivist, I guess.
It's crazy. What was the first kind of thing that you were working on for them? Was it making sense of what I can only imagine is... I just imagine an insane asylum of just... I don't know. I don't know what to think. Like, of these four guys in these four different parts of the country, essentially, having done so much different and disparate work, I can't imagine what a pile of their stuff looked like at first.
Well, first of all, the guys themselves were fucking impossible. As any group, I mean, any comedy group, they love and hate each other in equal amounts, and they're wonderful and they're complete assholes. I mean, one of the first gigs that I went to with Procter was about 2000, and Procter. This was before Dear Friends was being thought of for reissue. It was a terrible idea for them at the time. They hated the idea of putting out all those original radio shows because they were covered in record samples that couldn't be taken out, otherwise you'd fuck the whole thing up.
Right.
And we knew we couldn't take them out, so we had to figure out a way of putting it out without editing it. Yeah. And they didn't want to do it because they were incredibly paranoid. And Procter said, "No, it's not going to happen. It's just no." But you know what? We're going to do a book signing at Borders, so why don't you come to it and harass us about it from the audience? So it's like, I will never not be able to talk to this man. That's what I realized at that point, because we're both angry about the same things. God, the first thing that I actually did for them, officially maybe... Well, the first thing I did for them was I went to KPFK and just started digging around.
Okay.
And KPFK is where they were born, basically, in '66. They just came on the air. They knew each other, and they all got on the air, and they improvised this night of the Radio Free Oz Film Festival, where they were all playing avant-garde filmmakers who were playing their movies on the radio. And somebody, I think Phil Austin was playing Jack Love, son of a leather maker and maker of films for the living room theater, like Blondie Pays the Rent. And he tried playing his film, and the management, Bergman came in at one point and says, "The management is telling us that we can't play this film. We're sorry. We're just going to have to stop playing this film." And people started calling in and demanding that they played the film. That's when they figured out, yeah, we're onto something here. These guys get the joke. We're making the joke. This could be happening. So they kept doing stuff at KPFK, some of which was still there, and I started digging for that.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys got together from disparate parts, but all of them worked at KPFK at one point. In fact, there's a great half-hour one-off thing called The Raspberry Show that Phil Austin did that only exists on one acetate. We're going to put that in the shop too. I won't go into that, but that's one of those incredibly rare pre-Firesign things that is of a piece with a bunch of Firesign stuff that would be great to get out there.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny just because this was a period when sketch comedy and satire overlapped more maybe than they do now. And I'm not talking about like improv. If you go see improv, whatever's on the top of your head might be what's very much in the news, so maybe satire becomes inherently a part of it. But sketch typically nowadays is not necessarily about satire, not necessarily about having a point. Like, they're trying to make a human point, tell a human story, but it doesn't necessarily have a satirical edge to it. And it's just funny that by nature, that's the kind of stuff these guys were doing. Oh yeah, especially Bergman. This was a guy who, from the beginning, was always political. He was always of a mind that he was part of the political process. In fact, he kind of backed off the satire like 10 years ago because he was working for somebody's campaign here in Los Angeles. Oh, wow. So he didn't want to get involved. What happened was we got the rights to
We're going way back now, listeners. Do you remember Talon News? A fake website that didn't actually have any journalists working for it. And the domain name came up for sale. And one of the Fire Friends, Brian Wesley, one of our webmasters, decided to buy it and completely fake people out with it. Just like continue on because what Talon News was pretending to be was a news organization, which actually turned out to be a conservative news, a conservative PAC front. And so they decided to. We decided we were going to take the website and just keep going as if nothing had ever happened.
Sure.
And slowly turn completely deranged, which we did over like a month. All these insane different headlines started going up. It didn't last very long, but Peter didn't want to contribute anything to it because he thought it might screw up his actual political campaigns.
That's so funny. It's just so weird. I mean, that shocks me a little bit. Dude, I'm sorry. Did we? Okay, so we listened to we talked about the first thing that you listened to. I mean, is it possible to have a favorite work of theirs for you?
Oh, it changes. For years it was Dwarf, just because it's such a perfect thing.
Yes.
That was my Desert Island disc.
Mm-hmm.
I love Buzzes so much.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the lesser heard stuff too, like Giant Rat.
Uh-huh.
What a lot of people don't know about Giant Rat was that they set themselves an incredibly difficult task when they started doing that, which is all the Sherlock Holmes stories and all the Sherlock Holmes parodies to that point all had narration.
Uh-huh.
They were going to do one without it.
Oh, wow. And
doing that was that took a lot of skill. Yeah. So that was just a problem they set for themselves, and one album later they'd done it. And it's a fucking hilarious album.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. But I'm into their goofy shit too, which is why I decided to take so much time to put together all those radio shows together. Mm-hmm. It's like the rule of improv that you always hear. If a line's funny, and you've captured it, if a performance is real, it's going to stay real, no matter how many times you listen to it.
Right.
And when they're on the radio and they're coming up with these ideas for the first time, they are making each other laugh because this is genuinely funny shit.
Yeah.
I mean, having Bergman describe what it was like listening to Proctor do the one of the skits from Dear Friends. I was a cock teaser at Roosterama, and Proctor's just going on and on about how we. Whoa, man! They come up to you. Wow! They get you with those tusks, man. But they're so good looking, these creatures. And Bergman describing him making that turn, it would just kill him. These guys did not know what was going to happen next, and they were delighted. Austin was describing how that show was his tool for using Bergman and the rest of the group as tools for creating ideas in improv.
Yeah.
He would show up and he would just wait for the TNT to go off.
Yeah. I guess it must be that love of just creating and on the fly and being fluid that somehow makes them want to condense it and make a perfect album out of it. Mm-hmm. But it is strange that something that technically perfect can come out of that kind of a personality.
Yeah.
4 personalities like that.
Yeah, they had a discipline, and it would come out when it was needed.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of ideas, and only one of those would make it through because they would all decide together, yes, that's the one that needs to survive.
Yeah.
And then they would thread it in a way that made sense. It was always about the work.
Who, and this is my ignorance showing, but technically, though, as far as the editing and stuff, who was there an outside? There was a producer, mm-hmm.
and he was really super helpful to them, and I'm a terrible archivist because I cannot remember his name. But he was their engineer on, I think, the first 3 or maybe the first 4 albums.
Mm-hmm.
He got the joke. Mm-hmm. And when you got an engineer and he gets the joke, you're home free because he knows exactly what you're going for.
Yeah.
When they get to Dwarf, suddenly you're in a place where nobody's ever been before, where you're writing a play and performing it, and there are cuts in there that are cuts across time and space.
Yes.
That are opposite ends of the same sentence, and you either get that or you're really, really confused. And fortunately, they glommed onto a really good engineer who got it and who helped him out.
All right. He's going to be in here somewhere.
It's going to be,
So remember when I said I had? I've got quite a few. I've got about 5. So if you don't count this one back here that is signed, I really love the caricatures on the cover of.
Oh yes, a shout gorgeous. Out, please, to Robert Grossman, who was Bergman's roommate at Yale, and who made the 70s what they were thanks to his airbrush. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Grossman, the maker of the cover art for Dwarf.
So I do have 2 copies of this. I think I grabbed that only because it was 50 cents, so I figured, well, if the other one sounds like shit, maybe this one sounds okay.
Never don't buy a Firesign LP, that's what I say.
Yeah, no.
I was in a store today and bought one, just because it was there. God, this is terrible. I'm reading the credits list on Dwarf, and I have not got this guy's name. I'm a terrible person.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. He's still around, because he's a gentleman we should speak with.
No, he has left us.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. That bastard.
Well, there was Bill Dremel. Bill Dremel was a big part of them getting this on record. Mm-hmm. And Bill, I think, unfortunately, has died.
Damn it.
Bill was a big reason why the Firesign Theater made this epically interesting product.
Mm-hmm. Side note, I was... Now, I just love that this is Phil Hartman.
Oh, the cover of Fighting Clowns. Yes.
I don't know anything about the man's training. I just know that he was a fucking genius in way too many ways. Again, a polymath. Like a lot of these guys are any of the guys in the group, do they have, I'm just curious, like other artistic sides we don't know about?
Yeah. Well, Austin was an artist. I haven't seen any of his work recently, but I know he had chops as a drawer. Proctor is and was a collagist,
really
of major skill. He could have an exhibition at La Luz de Jesus if he really wanted one.
Yeah.
A lot of his collages ended up in the Duke of Madness book.
Okay.
Really simple, surreal, funny stuff. Just and all cut out from like Life magazine and shit. Just a soldier with a gun, and he's on top of a generic shot of an apartment. It's just a nightmare image. It's just perfect. He was really good at that. He was doing that for the East Village Other for a while.
Okay.
Bergman was interesting because I don't know if he actually ever wrote more than one piece of fiction himself. This is something I didn't know about him for a while and didn't really know much more about until I went through his entire archive. He had folders and folders full of drafts of science fiction novels.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the novels never came. I just don't know if he never got it together to make it, but I didn't ever ask him why.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Wow. That's that's one of those things that you, again, as an archivist or having the mind of one at the very least, that you become fascinated by. You want to find these rare things, but at the same time you're like, well, what can be done, and should anything be done with this, or does it remain a piece that no one gets to see? I'm fortunate I got to glance across, but maybe that's none of my business.
Yeah, I mean, and one of Osmond's talents is also as a visual artist, and it all makes sense that they had all these other talents, because when you, I'm convinced that the best improvisers have really active visual imagination. Absolutely. Just once you've got that, and once it's tied into the verbal, suddenly the picture comes to you, and then all you do is describe it for everybody.
Yeah,
and
that's brilliant. Yeah.
And it's like one of the lines on one of the things we're going to talk about is Harry Shearer and the team on Credibility Gap's album Floats. He's just off the top of his head, he'll say, "Oh, this year they decided to fill Gary Coleman with gas," and he's flying high above us here. Yes. It just was in his head. Here come the words, and that's once you got that hooked up, you're all set.
Yeah.
So these guys were very visually strong, all of them.
Yeah. I kind of think you have to have OCD for that to pop into your head out of nowhere. You know what I mean? At the very least, that's my OCD normally works in awful ways. And the things I have to describe, when I say have to, I mean have to or I will die, describe are disgusting. Horrible. That's why my other podcast exists, so my best friend and I can say horrible things to one another. Just at the end say, by the way, that was all ironic, please understand, but like it has to come out.
Yes.
That's how my OCD works. So let's get to it then. Let's get to this album. Let's get to the credibility gap, which I've never been 35 minutes into a recording and then now we introduced the album. But I didn't get to finish it. Obviously, you heard me listening to it as you came up. But
you're gonna die when you hear the rest of it. This is you heard this blasts forward in the first 3 minutes of the album in a way that it just kills everybody who hears it for the first time, because the premise of the album is the credibility gap. These four guys, not including Richard Beebe, one of the founding members, who never came to any of these Rose Parade commentaries, as far as I know. They started on the radio, and as part of their radio gig, they would go down to Pasadena every New Year's Day for maybe 10 years running, and they would just get a spot at a table with the press and do a live running commentary. And this is a compilation that Harry Shearer made in 1979 as part of a reissue of one of their earlier albums with a Pasadena label called Sierra Briar. And this was the bonus album. It's called Floats. And it's all taken directly from air checks from their commentaries. And if you have any question about what this is going to be, whether it's going to be respectful or allay any surrealism, those thoughts are dashed about 2 minutes into the LP, when after you get through the theme song, oh, it's the Rose Parade, the crowd is excited, the Rose Parade, and you weren't invited, so sit in your chair, just listen and stare, there's nothing else to do, so here's the Rose Parade. And then you go directly from that to just some commentary. We're here, it's happening, and now it's time for a little mini documentary. And the documentary follows. The music is, I'm convinced, from the sorrow and the pity. Grim clouds of foreboding hung over the San Gabriel Valley, and it goes on and on. It is so brilliant. It kills me.
That slaughtered me.
And the whole album is much in the same vein. It's the rest of the Rose Parade commentaries turned upside down and cut into small pieces. There's an interview with Rabbi Korf, it's getting a little topical in the 70s, but it's right after Nixon's resigned, and they corner Rabbi Korf in San Clemente and Rabbi Korf tells about how Nixon's upstairs very hopefully watching the Rose Parade, hoping that he'll get asked to do this next year. He believes it is his duty. Oh my god, it's just goofy. And the rest of the credibility gap canon is really good too, but
Sure.
I've always gravitated to this because the same reason I'm into Fire Sign is because these guys, half of this is pre-made, but half of it they're making up as they go, and it's as funny then as it is now.
Yeah.
Just listening to Michael McKean and David L. Lander go at it. David was the funny voices guy, and Michael McKean was and is strongly musical, and also did a lot of great voices. And Harry is, he's just flint rock. He's coming up with, here comes a float that's designed after the calcium propionate to retard spoilage. These things will come into his head and they'll fly right out, and it will
kill them too.
Yes. They're on the floor. They're all listening to each other, and they're having a good time and doing some bizarre things.
Yeah, I can't. I guess it's one of those things where podcasting is meeting more of a need of comedians than it is of an audience. Luckily, there are plenty of audiences who wants to listen to it, right? But there's that shit you have to get out, which explains why Harry Shearer, up until very recently, still had a radio show. You know, he had stuff to get out one way or the other, and this was the best way to express it. I hope it'd be nice if he moved into podcasting. That's if he wants to.
Well, I mean, he still has the show. It's just moved on to. If you're in LA, it's very hard to actually hear it on the radio.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
so
you can hear it
as
a podcast.
Okay.
It's pretty much he's he has sort of been kicked off the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, KSCN is on the radio, but for the most of the world, he's like FMU. If you're a fan, it's probably because you're listening on the internet.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. And it is funny that then the outlet for guys like this was a full-length vinyl album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, again, I don't want to harp on the whole idea that it's much more ethereal now because you can release a new thing each week, a new hour and a half for some of these shows.
Yeah.
2.5 hours if you're Pete Holmes.
Or 3 hours if you have James Adomi on the show.
Yes, right. That's absolutely true. That is true. So it's less precious. Maybe that's a good thing, and it helps people find their comedy better, but it would be nice for the art of the album to come back a little bit beyond just an hour of stand-up.
Yeah. It's a difficult question because Floats probably didn't actually deserve to exist as an album. It's all recordings of air checks, and they sound exactly as good as you would expect an air check to sound like. It's and a podcast is the same thing. It's ephemeral. It's people sitting around on a fucking couch and talking about shit for hours. If it's the 70s, the only way you get to hear these things is if you hear them live or if you trade tapes. Whereas now it's expected to be the kind of product that is now competing with other podcast product. There's so much of it that there's a review topic dedicated only to it at The Onion, AV Club. There's a lot of it now, so it's expected to stay ephemeral.
By the way, somebody should tell the AV Club that we exist. Just a heads up.
Yes, please.
That'd be fantastic. Do you... I mean, I know you do still collect vinyl, and again, as you just said, you'll just buy a Firesign album if it's in front of you. Are there some specific things that you're looking for right now that you've never seen or held? Just of anybody.
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, one thing is still at the top of my list right now, which is Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. And this isn't confusing at all. There was one album they did in 65 called Not Only But Also. And then there was an album from 1969 or 70 that was also called Not Only But Also. And the second one is very hard to get your hands on.
So it's not a re-release, it's an entirely
No, it's an entirely different thing.
Wow.
It's like the first album was called Not Only Peter Cook, but also Dudley Moore.
Okay.
But everybody who's selling it online is just calling it Not Only But Also, so you cannot find it.
Oh boy.
That's a vinyl thing that I would love to get my hands on.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to report that I just got my hands on something that I was looking for a long time, which was Diane McGregor, The Dream World of Diane McGregor.
I really
Parentheses,
want to hear that.
He talks in his sleep.
After you told me about that, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's some crazy good stuff. It's of the riffing school. These are riffs, and he was genuinely dreaming and sleep talking them. He was recorded by his roommate, and they first became a Decca LP in like 1964 with cover art by Edward Gorey, which made it
amazing. Crazy
rare and hard to get. And I finally scored a copy, and I can't listen to it. It's so scratched up.
That's too bad.
It's completely fucked. But there are MP3s out there, so you can get it. But I got it, and I'm restoring the cover art.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a challenge in and of itself. I mean, where's your... Okay, so let's talk about this, too, because let's talk about the restoration. I know we only talked about this album for a minute. We'll come back to it. But you do restore a lot of albums.
Yeah.
But you do it for the love of it. You do it out of your own pocket. I mean, you were kind enough to send me, 6 of them. Six that you worked your ass off to make. So this deserves to be talked about. Specifically, Floats, you went and restored. Why do you do it? I know why you do it.
Realistically, the bottom of it, it's because I like it and because I know it's never going to happen. Really. Which fortunately I discovered once I actually started producing real things. I realized, well, fuck, half the industry is doing this anyway.
Yeah.
Real quotes with air quotes reissues are quite often scanned directly from old cover art.
Yeah.
That's something I realized when I bought Brute Force. Brute Force is this guy who had this hard comic song styling. He had an LP called I Brute Force, Confections of Love. The cover is him standing in the quarry holding up a bouquet of flowers. It's utterly brilliant. And back in the day, back in '70, if you were hip, you had it. but nobody knows about it now.
Okay.
But it's on CD now, and when you buy the CD, one of the things you'll notice is that they have just grabbed the back art of the LP, and they've done like a Gaussian blur on it.
Oh yeah.
And that was a little moment of realization for me. Like, either I have the same resources as these labels have, and they've only got a cover,
Right.
or they can't be bothered.
Yes.
And either of those things can be true.
Yeah. What was the first one that you restored? And how long did it take you, actually?
Probably How to Speak Hip. I found a copy of How to Speak Hip years ago and just digitized it because I was interested. It was something I'd heard about for years and years and years, and I thought, well, God, I'll never find it. Sure. And then I found it, which is a completely different story, which I told you about. Carlos Hagen, a brilliant archivist, now deceased, who lived in Malibu, who needs a book written about him. But anyway, Carlos was a dude who had a magnificent record collection and allowed me to trade with some things for him. And he had not just one, but like 4 copies of How to Speak Hip. And How to Speak Hip came out in 2 different editions with 2 different covers.
Oh, yeah.
So because I was interested, I scanned the covers, cleaned them up, both of them. And How to Speak Hip is a little more elaborate because the original version had a hip dictionary. And it's a classic album. If you have not heard it, you need to, because it's not just funny, it's all completely accurate as to how hip was conceived and perceived in those days. I cleaned it up, I transferred the vinyl, and then I got an email from somebody at Cherry Red Records in the UK, and they said, can we just have a copy of that, for reference? And I sent him my cleaned up art, and I sent him the cleaned up audio, and that is what is on the CD now that you can buy from Amazon, which is okay because they credited me, and it's nice, it's good, it's all pretty much accurate. But in the intervening time, I have made myself a cleaner copy of the vinyl.
Really?
Yeah. So it's great that it's back out there, but it's like this process never ends.
How long did that take you to do the first one?
Too long. I've learned a lot of good tricks and tips since then.
Okay.
I'll keep doing it. I'm more interested in throwing lots and lots of time at something if I'm convinced it's possible no one's ever going to find the original art.
Right.
Because a lot of times that is the case. Like I said, there's something in the Firesigns archive that only exists on one acetate. Yeah. You transfer it very carefully once, and that's gone. It. Oof. So some LPs are unfortunately going to be more and more like that.
Yeah. Oh God, my brain immediately puts on white cotton gloves when I hear things like that. It's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remind you the responsibility of that. So then, how many total of these have you done? Did I already ask you that?
Oh gosh. Well, I had a thing going where I was convinced for like a decade that these were going to make good CDs at some point, so I was like making them as CD packages. Yeah. Not anymore, but there are at least maybe 75 things in my collection that are worth listening to, that are worth restoring, and that are out of print. Yeah. And so I put them up on my blog, taylorjessen.blogspot.com, and they are... all the audio is restored, all the art is cleaned up, and all the text has been reset in the original fonts, because I'm a madman.
I was just going to say, thank you. At least you recognize your insanity.
I'm interested enough, and I'm also convinced that these need to exist in a way that they're gonna bounce around the internet forever anyway.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And if I were a collector who was never going to be able to get my hands on the original object, this is what I would want for reference. Right. So I'm schlepping them up there.
It's the sort of adventure of going to a record shop and flipping through and finding something that you either never thought you'd never heard of, or you never thought you would ever see in your life. Obviously becoming less and less of a possible experience for people as there are fewer and fewer record shops.
True.
But being able to make that available on the internet, where this is stuff you're not going to even find on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Although technically you could put them up on YouTube because people like
because the robots aren't looking for those things.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah. And that's a lot of fun sometimes. Do you feel a compulsion, like you have to do this, or are you?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
kind of, it's
Even if it's
kind
not,
of OCD.
But it's not. You're right, exactly. But it's not like, because these things are. If the argument could be made, and I'm on the opposite end of this, the opposite side of this argument, argument could be made. Well, if people don't remember it, then it wasn't worth remembering. I don't believe that. Obviously,
It's very easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really, really true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there's something up on the blog right now, and it's called "Space is So Startling." And I only knew about this because it's something I've been looking for a really long time. Because back when I was trying to do the Dear Friends shows, because they were so full of record samples, I wanted to figure out what all the records were. Yeah. Because there was some goddamn good stuff in there too. There's some really good R&B, but there's also some stuff there. What the fuck is that? This is an LP of Japanese children's songs done in easy listening style. What's going on? And a lot of it I'm never going to find, but a lot of it turned out to be really interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of it turned out to be this thing called "Space is So Startling." And don't ever look for this in your life. It's horrible. It was put. It's a record where there are barely characters, and there are barely memorable songs, and it's full of all of that for about an hour. And by the time it's done, you wish you were dead. The story of the making of it is more interesting because it's all just a piece of propaganda for some kind of religious power movement.
Really?
A PAC, a post-World War II Protestant political action committee, sort of paid for this LP to happen.
Okay.
So that didn't... I scanned the cover and called it a day. That I don't care about. I don't care about making that.
But you wanted to make it available.
Yes.
It's so important. It's
I bought it so no one else has to.
But you still put it out there so other people can be tortured. I guess you have to. If you've been tortured, you need to pass that on to other people.
Yeah. But I mean, we're living in a Google world, and Google is this thing, this giant robot, which will help you find things thanks to data that people put into it. Yeah. So that's part of what I'm doing, is I'm just filling my corner of the internet with some more good, useful data.
Here in Southern California, not every parade watcher is on Colorado Boulevard. Many a parade fan is gathered around a television set, not to mention our disabled citizens. 87-year-old Fred Cadaver has been in a wheelchair ever since he was born. And today, in the San Gabriel Rest Home, he's enjoying his 85th consecutive Rose Parade sitting down. Fred, how would you compare this year's parade to all those others you've seen?
It's good.
Well, the parade certainly has changed, though, hasn't it, since its early days?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, it used to be in black and white, and then a few years ago, the fella came by here and installed the new parade.
Now, you've never been able to actually...
Stand up.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not laughing. It's no big joke for me.
what I mean is you've never attended a Rose Parade in person, have you?
No. Well, it used to be on the radio. You couldn't see it. That was an old setup they had. I think the Dumont network had just moved out, and they put the transmitter up on the hill. Of course, this was when I was younger, you understand. I wasn't born this old. I had no legs on me, but I was your age when I was born.
Have you ever just straight up passed something up where you're like, well, this looks really curious and interesting, but I don't have the time to process it? Because I've done that.
I did that today. What did I do that with? Yeah, and I can't even remember what this is. It's got... no, I have no details about this whatsoever. It looks like it was made in... It's an LP. It looks like from the early 60s. Mm-hmm. The original score to an off-Broadway play. Okay. And it's got Siegel, who was in the Hot Rock. What was his name? See, this is totally...
It's all right.
I could look him up right away, but it's just another of hundreds of pretty moderately good production values comedy records from the early 60s. And I was looking at it, and it looked really clean, and I had no idea what it was. Mm-hmm. And I left it there. I don't have the processing power for it. I bought the Ace Trucking Company. I saw that for the first time today.
Really?
Yeah, Fred Willard's first group.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm going to listen to that at some point. I thought that's interesting enough that that could be fun.
That's a guy I desperately want on my podcast. Completely underrated because he's so goofy funny.
Oh yeah.
People don't realize his history. and where he's been. People don't get that. They just think, he's this funny character.
I really hope you get him, because I want to hear him, talk about his life.
Yes, me too.
Not just his recent life, but his whole career.
He's mind-blowing and underrated, and I think he doesn't care. He just seems to be like, oh, no, I'm living life. I do theater all the time. He just seems like the most chill son of a bitch. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it's fine, but you kind of are a living legend, and I mean, you were there at the beginnings of improv comedy, but whatever.
Whatevs.
It's. Do you ever get interested in the ephemera, like the weird shit? Like here's something that I only bought because it was 50 cents. Okay, and I apologize. We're not talking about floats yet, just still, but we'll talk about it in a second. But like, where the hell did it go? It's something that probably 1,000,000,000,000,000 trillion people have.
Oh yeah. We see this a lot. This is this ends up in these spoken bins, and it's got a nice red background picture of JFK.
Yeah.
Are we thinking before or after his assassination?
It's the album.
Okay, Memorial album. Here we go.
Like the picture of the album. Yes, Memorial.
This would be post.
Yep.
So yeah, this is in every spoken word bin everywhere.
Common,
it's everywhere.
Almost as common as, well, probably more common than The First Family, which everybody owns. Everybody.
You know what I did? I did that exact thing with. Before I was in LA, I was living in Boise, and what you would see in every bin, no matter where you went, was a copy of Woody Woodbury.
Yes.
Laughing Room Only.
I think I might have that one.
And then finally one day I had to buy it just to see what the fuck it was. And
I've never listened to it.
It was not that good.
Oh no? Okay.
No.
I had a slight feeling just going off the cover.
Kind of a semi-rube character.
Yeah.
Off-color jokes, and that was it.
Yeah. Because I the one that I found that I never bought was just a straight up, like, clearly at one point you could buy a boilerplate, not this, but it was the moon landing, and you could on the back put your own promotion, and this guy was running for local office, and he was putting out things of the moon landing. I'm like, what, how were you responsible for the moon landing? No. Nope. Here's like the moon landing stuff, and here's my name on the back. Don't forget to vote for me. Mind blowing. I didn't want to spend $8 on it though, so I'm just like, this is cool. I know it exists, but that's the weird thing about records.
There are some records the story is better than the record.
Yes, exactly.
And you have to decide: am I willing to pay $8 for this story?
Yeah. I thought about looking the guy up too, in case he's still alive, and then ask him what made you think this is a good idea.
That sounds like something. Here's another thing that everybody should in this world should have. Free plug for the makers of the coffee table book, Enjoy the Experience. Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
It is 300 plus pages of nothing but stories and photos about private press LPs in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, from the 50s to the 90s.
See, those are the things that I know nothing about because I don't want to know because they're so rare.
Yeah.
It will upset me that I can't have this in this.
Yeah.
Because
fortunately, a lot of this has been poured over, and there are MP3 copies you can get.
Oh, that's
some
nice.
of the really well traveled, well collected stuff, but insane things too. Like there's a 2-page spread all about a record that literally was not produced. You buy it, you crack it open, you play it, and there's like a minute of blank leader between each song.
Whoa.
And there are 3 songs on one side, 4 songs on the other side. That's it.
What
the person singing sounds clinically insane. It was made as a tax write-off, just to have things in boxes in a storage facility.
Oh my god!
The person on the record literally never knew the record was ever made.
Wow!
Did
they ever find out?
I don't know.
I
can't remember.
Person? Oh my god, that's fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, the whole book is full of stories like that, so it's crazy. It's crazy good reading.
All right, I will have to get that.
Thank you, fellas, and hello again, everybody. This is Dave Swartz, speaking of sports. And on every January 1st of every New Year's time, there's only one sport to speak of, and that's football. Or should it, on New Year's Day, be footballs? Item, history in the making department. Let's remember some of those great Rose Bowls past. 1927, 1934, 1948, and 1958. I could go on and on, but let's flash back up to now. UCLA versus Ohio State, the game the experts said couldn't happen here. But like Hitler's Germany, the game is just hours away. Item, inside scoop stuff, radio edition. Sometimes even I amaze myself. Your reporter has obtained exclusively a hotline phone number to Ohio State football coach Woody Not-So-Gabby Hayes. While he plays possum for the sports establishment, he's being a pussycat at the other end of my Dave Swartz exclusive phone.
All right, let's go back to the album.
Let's go back
I
to
apologize.
the floats.
Let's talk about, like, your
I
favorite
apologize
stuff.
for the credibility gap.
Right. Like, what's your favorite stuff on the album? Because, again, I didn't get to finish it. Why does it... Because it is, like you said, the original quality is air check. They're air checks, so it's hard listening if you really want something smooth and polished.
Mm-hmm.
The comedy's still just fucking fascinating and
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Well, you're hanging out with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like with any good radio show, you're listening in on these guys trying to make each other laugh.
Yeah.
That's what I love the most about this.
Yeah.
There's some really good pre-produced skits in there. Like there's a Diary of a Queen.
Uh-huh.
This is what blew my mind because, as I told you at lunch, my first job when I moved to Burbank was at a bookstore in Burbank called Movie World.
Mm-hmm.
And Movie World is a foofara of miscellany. You will walk in and you will see stuff that you will never see again, and neither will the people who work there. But it's an old magazine shop. A lot of the studios go there for old magazines for props.
Okay.
And I was digging around one day and I saw these Rose Parade souvenir programs. And I already knew about the Floats album before I saw these programs, and I thought, interesting. One of the skits on Floats is called Diary of a Queen. Mm-hmm. Half of the lines are from Diane Jane Raymaker, and you can see her entire diary in the 1977 issue of the program. And Harry is... Because Harry is obsessed with beauty pageants anyway.
Uh-huh.
Always has been. Every year on Le Show, he'd put endless lifted quotes from actual beauty contestant answers into Le Show without commentary. And he didn't need to.
Yeah.
It was what the fuck kind of institution is this in America? What is happening? And Diary of a Queen is exactly like that. He will take quotes verbatim from her diary and then just add a line of his own. At one point he says... he goes into her voice, and the first line is hers, and the last line is his. Scrapbooks of previous parades help us alleviate the tension. I mean, these girls survived. Why can't we? I mean, who dies in a parade? It's these guys playing around with radio and playing around with this extremely kitschy, weird institution, and actually they did a lot of proper research about it, and now once you hear this LP, you're going to understand more about this parade than you probably did before. Even the fake documentary that opens the album has got some real information in it. But it's goofy, and it's them hanging out, and it always makes me laugh.
So when was the... Okay, so did we establish when you first heard the Credibility Gap?
In college. Same time I discovered Firesign. I was just moving my way alphabetically down the shelf. Credibility Gap, Firesign Theater, and the rest of the Credibility Gap's work is alternately brilliant and not heard. It's a little weird to put Credibility Gap in a bucket because they were two different things. The first album was called an album of political pornography, and it was very specific to the summer of '68. It's all about the asteroid Icarus and the assassination of RFK and LBJ protests, and it's a different crew. Everybody except Richard Beebe never appeared on any of the other albums. And then Harry Shearer and David L. Lander and Michael McKean show up, and their first album as the Credibility Gap was for Capitol, and it was called Woodstick.
Yes, I have.
And it was 72, 71. It was after Firesign Theater already put out 4 albums, and you can tell they are really trying to get on the vibe of a Firesign Theater album. The whole have you heard the album?
I've listened to the first half of it. I have it somewhere. Side
1 is really good.
Yeah.
It's the title piece. It's Woodstick, and it's like it's as if Woodstock was a Catskills comedy festival. It is really brilliant. Don't eat the brown acid becomes I can't remember. But they're all stuck in a single hotel room. All these comedians, one hotel room. It's a free comedy festival. It's a free festival. And then side 2, they try and do a sort of darker Firesign-ish thing called Ear Witness News. And it doesn't quite work, but it's got some good smaller bits in it.
Yeah.
So that didn't really pan out. Rolling Stone hated it. But they moved to Warner Brothers and they put out another LP called A Great Gift Idea, which will kill you. It is so good. A Date with Danger is this 8-minute piece that is done in the format of an educational, 16 mil film that you'd see in 6th grade, and it'll knock you flat. It'll kill you. Some of this feels topical, but it still just rings the bell.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I mean, that doesn't seem to hurt this. What I got to listen to of Floats doesn't seem to be hurt by anything too period specific. It's mostly just general. And again, the satire is what keeps it afloat, as it were. I apologize for that. That was an accident. I just looked at the word float and I said my brain did that.
I hear what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you heard it. Actually, it's funny you say that. The idea of an 8-minute track seems to be the antithesis of what you're supposed to do online, at least with a video. They're always like, do 2 minutes and under, 2 minutes and under. I remember early on working with some website, like, well, you have any ideas? I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, well, they need to be 2 minutes and under. I'm like, I can do very little in 2 minutes, but okay. But on a comedy album, you had the freedom to just keep going.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta stretch it out.
Yeah.
And they were good at the real short pieces too. The piece that opens side 2 is like I think it's called 16 Golden Bits, and it's very short, and it's a fake ad about the laugh makers who are all imitating and reproducing and doing cover versions of famous skits from other people's comedy albums. And it's over and done in like 90 seconds. It's
That's fucking awesome.
It's brilliant.
That's so good.
But the whole album is great. A blaxploitation Martin Luther King parody called Kingpin. Lance Learns to Box, which is just a skit of a little domestic skit about Lance and how he has to learn to box. And no, he's a mathlete, but no, he has to learn to box anyway. And I think that album is the one that ends with Where's Johnny, which is like a 14-minute piece, and it's about the Johnny Carson show. Who in their right mind in 1973 does comedy about Carson?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They had a damn good reason to, because this was all about all the horrible establishment assumptions that went into the making of the Johnny Carson show, and all the really epically bad karma that Johnny would get from and to his guests. Things that just un-PC or just really basically unfriendly. Just people, a comedy group calling Johnny on what they were considering his sins at that point. Like the meat of the skit is that they've got a gay Marine on, and he's talking about discrimination in the armed forces, and they have another guest who sits on the couch next to him, and he's an obviously closeted writer who's written a book called Island of Fire about the dreaded homosexual.
Oh God.
Called Island of Fire because they are on fire in their brains all the time, and also not coincidentally they also all live on Fire Island. So just calling Johnny on all this shit. Nobody else did that in the 70s.
Crazy.
Grim clouds of foreboding hovered over the San Gabriel Valley in the year of 1890. 2 stock market panics had already gripped the country in the preceding quarter century, as Churchill once observed, perhaps the most painful place to be gripped. 2 men huddled in the turret of a small U-boat moored to the corner of Fair Oaks Avenue and Colorado Boulevard, in a community racked by anonymity which some called Pasadena. The men were Charles Holder and R.K. Rollin. They had conceived an ingenious plan whereby people would be compelled to pass down the middle of the boulevard in great number, riding upon flowered vehicles. Due to their superior organization, spearheaded by the Rose Marshals, the so-called Pink Shirts, the Rollin-Holder plan, codenamed Tournament of Roses, soon let loose a prairie fire of good feeling. In 100 guarded offices, behind 78 closed doors, the plenipotentiaries of a score of neighboring municipalities hung their heads. Then, suddenly, pooch. With the speed of a twin razor blade, the Tournament of Roses operation had outflanked the rapidly dwindling forces of the underground, the so-called undershirts. In the mid-1920s, foreign states and nations began sending emissaries in the form of flowered vehicles to pay court to this new world power.
That's gutsy. That's gutsy now.
Yeah.
You couldn't. He's too much of an institution.
I mean, it's like you're saying they're comic guys, but they're also strongly satirical. If they see something that makes them unhappy, they're going to go after it.
And at the end of the day, it's not like, okay, here's the deal. Harry Shearer is a rich man, and he's great, but at the same time, he's not a star. You're not going to look at Harry Shearer and say that he's a star. Mm-hmm. Even among people of his generation, you wouldn't call him a star. If you know comedy and you've got a brain, you know that he's a genius. I just wonder if they were willing to pay for it. They were willing to pay for their tearing people down.
Yeah.
It's gutsy as hell. Oh.
Well, I mean, and there's another half of it too, which is if you're going to go into TV, you need a face. And I don't know if...
That's true.
Let's be honest, Harry would probably be the first guy to tell you he didn't have the face for big TV success. Sure. Michael McKean?
Yeah.
Awesome looking guy. He's obviously been success as an actor.
Yeah.
And yet today he's not known so much for... Not for his comedy songs, definitely.
No,
I mean,
right.
He's won... he's kind of won an Oscar for one of them, but you don't know about the whole rest of his catalog that he's got that he hasn't been... Because he doesn't perform a lot in front of people. He's got this huge back catalog of stuff.
Yeah.
And David L. Lander is still active as a voice guy.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book, which I need to read, about his health problems.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Richard Beebe, I'm not sure what happened to him, but these guys didn't really have a movie career in front of them.
Right. It is interesting because satire was it was a risk. It's easier now when you don't, like, as people say, TV show. You can go on as many TV shows as you want. It's not going to make your career instantly. Mm-hmm. Drew Carey's career was made because he was on The Tonight Show and got called over to the couch. Yep. That was it. Yep. Next day he was getting calls. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen anymore. There's less risk if you were to do that kind of thing now. You can be, you can be a satirist, and you're going to pay for it less, I guess, which maybe explains why people maybe think they're satirists more often than they actually are.
Yeah, that's really true. I don't know why that is, but that's true.
Yeah,
you can certainly. Maybe you're more expected to do that these days.
Yeah.
And this is a more. I don't know. This probably has nothing to do with it, but you're expected to be more surreal and more punched out now.
Yeah.
These last 2 decades are the only 2 decades when Adult Swim could exist.
Yeah.
It's hardcore surrealism, and it's just expected to be a little more shocking than comedy that you've seen before.
Right.
So satire is part of that.
Which is hard. That's why a lot of the shit that I write is still like, it's still going to be what I find funny. If it happens to be surreal, great. But I mean, most of the shit I write is like, that sounds like a Monty Python sketch. Well, it basically is. But I don't care. I mean, I don't know. It makes you sweat thinking about how hard you have to work to catch up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it makes no sense. It's okay to evolve with that stuff, but to do it because it's a thing is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And
I should mention the Credibility Gap did one more album, which everybody should seek out, which is called The Bronze Age of Radio.
Oh yeah, I think I heard that one too.
Yeah, it came out in 1977. If you see it, it's on CD.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Again, brilliant, and it's all radio stuff that they did.
Yeah.
Great stuff that'll just knock you out. Their Who's on First is a classic.
Oh gosh.
Are you familiar with this one?
I am not.
It's a record promoter talking to a journalist, and they're trying to place an ad, and the promoter, it's who, great, yeah, who's playing, who. We're just gonna have 3 supergroups, so who, yeah, who, and I'm not gonna. Should I ruin it or not? It's Who, Guess Who, and Yes.
Oh my God!
Imagine the Who's on First Get, and it's those 2 characters, and they're trying to place an ad for Who, Guess Who, and Yes, and it's genius. It's just awesome. Exactly as good as you imagine it would be.
That's awesome.
And the whole album is great.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those things too, where if you're doing satire, people don't expect it. At some point, you have to sort of mix it up and do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to redo an old sketch. It's a brilliant old sketch, but I'm going to do it as well as I possibly can. Like, it's the same reason the Smothers Brothers, when they came back, they did a special, I think, in the 80s on CBS, and they said, "I want you guys to be rebellious," and they said, no thanks. Nah. That's their way of rebelling, which is, that's a comedian's stock in trade, you know? They're like, well, nah, you want me to do that, I'm not going to do it. We're just, it's ridiculous. Comedy people.
They're impossible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will agree. Ask my wife. Actually, ask my wife. She will agree with that, too. Taylor, this has been awesome. And you have to come back.
I would be delighted to. It has been awesome.
I feel like you've pitched Floats to people enough that they know why to listen to.
I hope so. Everybody should listen to Floats. It's going to be harder to find, or I don't want to tell people to go to my blog and steal it, but at the same time, go to my blog and steal it. Some of the things that are on my blog maybe will get CD reissues someday. Maybe the fact that they're up there will lead to CD reissue.
It'd be nice.
But I just really want people to be able to hear them.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about giving them away, but at the same time, a lot of this stuff is just locked up in the vaults of major labels who, the sin that they are committing, the sin they're perpetrating against these records is not liking them or not liking them. It's simply refusing to think about them.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they are stuck in a vault in Iron Mountain and it's too expensive for them to go and find them. So I say, fuck them. Here they are. And some of this stuff is re-release worthy. Yeah. Right away. The Duck's Breath Mystery Theater stuff, I want that on a CD right now.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, I want clean copies of it. And I'm not saying it's impossible, because I'm working with some people who do proper reissues. I know I'm working with Noah Uman, who was a DJ at FMU, who has just recently put out a killer CD reissue of Medium is the Massage.
I don't know what this is.
Oh God, it's so fun. It's just it's a riff. It's mind jazz. It's idea jazz. For an hour. It's brilliant. Marshall McLuhan, and it came out in '67, I think.
Okay.
And he legitimately got it reissued with the original art and from the original masters, so it can be done.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I'm just happy that you're doing this and putting so much love into it, though. That's the one thing people need to appreciate when they go to your website. Not that you're supposed to go to his website, but go to his website.
Yeah.
But yeah, just appreciate all the work that's been put into them, except for the ones that you didn't put that much work into, like you said. There are one or two you just threw out there.
Yeah. Some of the stuff there, it's going to be purely educational.
Yeah.
Like the records from the China Record Company. From 67, 68, Cultural Revolution. If I understood what was happening in the lyrics of some of these songs, I would probably be very disturbed.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
In the meantime, you can just enjoy music from music that you were never meant to hear.
Where can people find you?
The Firesign stuff is available at firesigntheater.com, TRE. And my blog, where I'm putting up so much of this wonderful guff, is taylorjessen.blogspot.com.
Awesome.
And 2 S's.
What about Twitter?
On Twitter, I am Sid Fudd. You can tweet me at Sid Fudd, the great scientist.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And you will come back.
I will come back.
Even if you don't want to, I'm forcing you now.
Well, you know where I live.
Yes, I do. Thank you again. This has been awesome. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, have a good thing.
Hey, here's the thing for you.
Thank you so much.
That almost worked. I handed you a thing. It was better in my mind.
Nah, I like it.
Than the execution
I like
that
it.
I
It
delivered.
was the delay that I like. I like that it took a while to get there. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of Stolen Dress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klamm. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. Please visit stolendress.com to listen to our other podcasts, read our blogs, read our tweets, watch our videos, and read our books. Please subscribe on iTunes, and if you like us, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. You can find us on facebook.com/comedyonvinyl, Twitter @comedyonvinyl, and find everything else at comedyonvinyl.com.